Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nessa and today we are looking at my time at Evershine news. So Pathia Game recently did a AMA, Ask Me Anything on Reddit, and they compiled 18 questions that have to do with the new game. So I thought that we could go over them together, comment, have a little discussion on what the new game is going to look like. Hopefully it will give us a little bit more insight on how the mechanics and the thought process between the developers are as they are making this new game. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first question is, what is the game loop in My Time at Evershine? How does the game loop in My Time at Evershine differ from Portia and Sandrock? Also, what's your favorite new game mechanic in Evershine? So I think this question is really important because the basic foundation of a good game is a satisfying gameplay loop. So I think that if I am correct in how My Time at Evershine's gameplay loop will work, it's going to be more of a macro kind of lens where you as the governor are in charge of everything in the settlement, resource gathering, the construction, the building, the delegating, things like that, the recruiting, versus in Portia and Sandrock where you are a builder on a micro level where you do commissions for like people in town or the town itself. But ultimately, you do not have a lot of say in terms of what projects the town takes on. So let's see what they had to say. The core gameplay loop in Evershine still features the production and resource management systems from Portia and Sandrock, but with a new emphasis on settlement management. You'll build towns, progress the story, and unlock new areas, all while assigning tasks to NPCs, like gathering resources, constructing buildings, and producing materials. This shift's focus is more on overseeing developing your settlement. While you can still gather and build on your own, the option to delegate tasks to NPCs lets you focus more on managing the big picture and story progression. One of our favorite new mechanics is how NPC interactions and relationships affect their productivity and enthusiasm. The deeper the bonds you form, the more it positively impacts the development of your settlement, adding a dynamic and immersive layer to the gameplay. So this is really cool to me because it really sounds like it's what I thought, right? Like I wanted the macro and it sounds like I am getting the macro with this whole settlement town building thing. In addition, I really like how they mention that the NPC relationship will affect how they work, like if they're productive and whether they like what they're doing. So everyone has that boss, where they get along with, everything's good, you like going to work, and you feel more likely to actually do a good job. And then, I don't know how many of you have experienced the opposite, where you had a bad boss, where you really don't get along with them, and you hate work, and you just want to leave, the moment you step in there. So depending on your relationships with those around you, I'm sure it does affect how well you work. And in this sense, I can see it working out in Evershine the same way. Question 2. What were some of the key learning moments for the team during the development of My Time at Portia and My Time at Sandrock? What is the biggest regrets when developing Portia and Sandrock? So this one is also really important to know in terms of what lessons the developer has taken from the previous games and whether or not they are applying it to the development of the new game. So looking back, there were definitely some key learning moments, especially in terms of planning and experience. Early on, we didn't always have a clear roadmap for the content, which sometimes made the development process a bit more chaotic than we would have liked. We tended to adapt as we went, and while that flexibility helped, it also made the project harder to manage. The early access approach brought its own challenges as well. Frequent updates disrupted the production flow, making it difficult to maintain a consistent release schedule. That being said, we don't have any major regrets when it comes to Portia and Sandrock. We were able to implement most of the features and content we initially envisioned. It was certainly a learning curve, but each project has helped shape and improved our approach for future games. So I'm really glad that they touched on having a clear roadmap as they're going into Evershine. I already see that, they have an outline planned out in terms of what they want to go with and what they want to add. The Kickstarter, I think, is going to put a little bit of a stress point on this because they did meet their goals super fast and there are a lot of new features and stuff that they are going to have to add into the game, such as the swimming feature and the ability to use the bathtub and things like that, that now they're going to have to put into that timeline. So I think that is a little stress point, but knowing the team, I'm hopeful that they can at least do their best to implement that as much as possible before the game is released. Also, they say that they don't have any major regrets when it comes to Portia and Sandrock, and they were able to do what they wanted and also, you know, take what they've learned to approach future games that way. So I am hoping that whatever they've learned from the player feedback and just, you know, like people playing the games, that now they're able to move towards making Evershine, the development process of Evershine and just the game itself, something that improves on their formula so far. Question 3, can we hold on to our game key until the next gen Nintendo is ready? So this is super important too, because not everybody plays on PC. Like myself, I play on PC, but only because Switch games have been so disappointing to me in terms of how it runs and the performance issues. So if Nintendo were to, you know, release their next gen console soon and it is fantastic, then I might actually want to have Evershine on that, because I like the whole idea of just playing on the go and being able to just suspend sleep your, you know, like your play session and then come back to it later and be in the same spot. I love that. Of course, you'll still retain the rights to use your activation code. However, we'll need to wait for the release of the next-gen Nintendo console before we can start development and submit that version for approval. Only then can we apply for the activation code. The timeline for this process is hard to estimate at the moment, but you'll be able to use your key once everything is ready. So, I mean, this answer is pretty much what I expected. They seem like they do want to support whatever next console comes out, since they had Portia and Sandrock on the Switch. So just Evershine will definitely be on this, but it's hard to tell when they're gonna have this available, because it really just depends on when Nintendo releases the console, and then they have to develop on that console and all these steps in between. But it's nice that they're reassuring everybody that this is a possibility. Question 4, do you already have voice actors in mind for the characters? So this is great too, because voice acting improves the game so much. As you can see from Sandrock, just the voice acting is super great, super helpful to kind of convey the emotions and convey who the character is through just hearing them, you know, versus just seeing them. So I think it is really important to have good voice actors for the characters, and also consistent voice actors. Like if they ultimately changed up voice actors that already did voices in like Portia and Sandrock, then that might also be a little, I guess, world breaking, just to, you know, like until you get used to the new voices, it's just like, oh, I remember that he had a different voice kind of thing. But I mean, even if they do that, because obviously not all the voice actors can come back and such, but if they had to do that, then I'm sure it wouldn't be too much of a problem. I just don't know if they're going to have the same ones or have that in mind. We have not started the voiceover process yet, as the script's not complete. Once the script is further along, we'll look at our options. We will do our best to have the same I think that's supposed to say same VAs do the same characters. Okay, so I like that they're assuring that they'll try to keep consistency between the characters. Like if there was a person that was voicing, you know, like random NPC3. No, I'm just kidding. But like, you know, like obviously the core characters, they're gonna try to have the same VAs come back and do lines for those characters if they're in Evershine, especially the ones that are visiting Evershine, whoever those will be. But I think that's really great. You know, I love consistency, and this really gives us a kind of insight on where they are in the process, because they're still writing the scripts right now. So I'm assuming that right now it is fall, autumn of 2024. They're probably not going to be done with the game until summer 2026 is what I'm betting on, like at the earliest. Question 5. How does the team feel about the amount of support Evershine has received? We're incredibly excited and grateful for all the support my time at Evershine has received. The passion and encouragement from the community has far exceeded our expectations. Thanks to your support, we've been able to unlock features that we once only dreamed of. Your trust and enthusiasm drives us to do our best and makes Evershine the best it can be to give our best. We can't wait to show you more, and we truly appreciate having you with us on this amazing journey. So this is just really cute. Like, I love these questions just to gauge how the developers feel about their fan base, and it really seems like they're energized from the support that they're getting. So I really hope that because of that, they're motivated to do their best and they have that passion for the game. Because sometimes, you know, like, I mean, everybody's human, even developers who are working on games like this, if they have like negative reactions to what they're doing, or people aren't really into the product that they're trying to sell, then maybe they're not as motivated, you know, to put out a great game, versus if there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of people who are waiting for it, if there's a lot of talk about it, then that really gets the energy up. Okay, question 6. Is our governor going to have fixed backstory or an open-ended one? So this is a good question too. I mean, based on what I know from Portia and Sandrock, it seems like your character has like a background, you know, like in Sandrock, you're from Highwind and you have a mom and dad, and your childhood best friend is Nia. So I'm only assuming that the governor, whoever you are in Evershine, is also going to have like a vague backstory like that. But then, you know, like, depending on how you play your character and things, there is room to still be who you want to be without having all those restrictions on you, as in like, oh, you are, you know, a brave character and you have to act this way kind of thing. So the player character's backstory will follow a similar approach to Sandrock and Portia, where we'll provide a foundation, but you'll be the one to shape their future through your gameplay. So this is pretty much what I thought. They'll have a little backstory, but whoever you want to be, then you get to. Question 7. Why Fang joined the Monster Hunter Guild and will leave Sandrock forever? Can we expect past game history, personal builder storyline context integrate into the next title somehow? Are there set canon relationships, or is it dependent on player choices so everyone can have their own story? Okay, so this is a lot, and I know it's grammatically not the best, but this is just the questions I pulled directly from Pathia Games when they released their AMAs, so that's why it's kind of like this. But from what I can gather, spoilers, because obviously I have not finished Sandrock, but it seems like Fang joins the Monster Hunter Guild and he's gonna leave Sandrock forever. So now I'm kind of curious how he even got there. So we'll see if I eventually find that out. And then it's also asking if there's past game history storyline gonna be integrated into the next one, in the sense where it is like certain relationships canon, like does the builder ultimately get with a specific person in Portia, that builder, and does the Sandrock builder ultimately get with like a specific person, and is that canon? I think that's what they're asking. They're asking if it's just dependent on the player's choices in those games, like will those choices integrate into the next game? That would be a really interesting thought though, like the choices that you've made into Sandrock and who you ultimately ended up with will show up if, you know, you had a copy of Sandrock, like a save, and then Evershine recognizes that and then pulls from that. That would be cool. Fang chose to join Howlett's Hunters on his own. No one can force him to do anything. He occasionally joins the team for missions, but neither he nor anyone else in the guild will permanently leave Sandrock. They're still very much a part of the town. When members of the Hunters go on missions, their spouses may join them, depending on whether the builder has time to accompany them. As for the builder's past stories, since they're famous across the Alliance, people will mention them from time to time. Whether those stories will be directly referenced in future games is something we'll leave for you to discover. We prefer to give players the freedom to build their own relationships with NPCs rather than having fixed ones, like Mint marrying a builder. So that makes sense. I mean, like, you want to keep everything kind of flowy and vague as possible, so there are different interpretations of what happened and everyone can kind of insert themselves into the story. Like, if it's like canon that your builder marries, like, let's say Owen, for example, then not everyone's gonna feel that, because not everybody married Owen, obviously. So I think just having the freedom to kind of speculate, like, okay, these guys are okay. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder who they ended up with, is probably better than saying, like, oh no, this person ended up with this and this and this. And also, like, I'm still like, how did Fang join the Hunters? Like, I'm so curious right now. I want to find out. I just want to play Sandrock to finish it so I can find out. Okay, question 8. Should we expect an extended release date or any similar questions regarding alpha access timeline? So I guess this question is asking more for like the timelines of when certain phases of the development project will be released. So let's see what they have to say about that. We've successfully developed and released 2 My Time games, so we're confident we can deliver Evershine on time. We'll share updates about the alpha timeframe soon, with a more accurate estimate available by the end of this year or early 2025. Right now, we're reviewing the timeline to ensure we can incorporate all of the stretch goals we've unlocked. While we didn't expect to reach so many goals so quickly on Kickstarter, we're fully committed to delivering a high quality game that meets your expectations. If we find that we need more time to fully integrate everything, we'll keep you updated on any changes to the schedule. Our top priority is making sure the game is the best it can be, so stay tuned for a more detailed timeline, including alpha access, coming soon. Okay, very, very interesting. I mean, I appreciate good developer communication. I definitely appreciate it when developers kind of do their dev vlogs, they update you on what they're working with, just any little tidbit to let me know that they are moving closer to the finish line, because sometimes you have like a really hyped game and you're really excited to see it released, and the developers, they start out like giving you some information and then they go radio silent for like months, and then suddenly they pop back up and they're like, oh, we're delaying the game for like another year. And you're like, why? Tell me, let me know. Because I take news better, and I'm sure most people do too, when you've been communicated to along the way, such as like, oh, we're working on incorporating swimming into the game, but it's not going as well as we want to. Maybe the water physics is a little janky whenever we're having we're testing it. So this is going to probably set us back like a few months while we figure it out. And that is totally fine with me, because at the end of the day, I do want a high quality game, and I am okay with waiting for a high quality game, because you mostly only play a game once, so your experience of that game is kind of dependent on how it is at the time that you play, right? So if you play a game and it's just not that great, or there's a lot of bugs or missing features, then that's what you're gonna remember. Question 9. I'm so curious if some of the least favorite characters were written that way on purpose, or if you were at all surprised by the reaction. On the flip side, did you expect Pen to be so popular? Like in the beginning, I thought that Pen was such an ugh character. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this guy. He's so into himself. I really don't like him, And now whenever I talk to him, I still feel like, ugh, that's Pen, But in an endearing way now, it's kind of like, oh, you're just so full of yourself kind of way. He kind of grew on me. Yeah, some of the reactions to certain characters definitely surprised us, though for the most part, it was what we expected. We've been taking all the feedback on board, and we'll use it to tweak character designs in Evershine. It's been really insightful to see how players connect with and interpret different characters. As for Pen, we expected him to be popular, but the level of attention he's received has been a bit beyond what we anticipated. That's funny. They too are surprised that Pen got so much love, apparently. Question 10. What minimum requirements, approximately anyways, will this game have regarding the PC edition? I'd love to have a general picture of this game's future, min, or recommended recs. So this is always important to know, like whether or not you have to upgrade your PC or hardware or whatever in time for the game's release, because one of the most disappointing things ever is getting a new game and then realizing you can't play the game because you don't you do not meet the minimum requirements. So I think it's really important to just know straight up, like, is my PC going to be able to handle this? Evershine will feature a higher visual quality than Sandrock with significant upgrades and character models and environmental effects. We know how important optimization is, and after our experience with Sandrock, we're confident in our ability to ensure the game runs smoothly on a wide range of systems, from lower-end setups to high-end gaming PCs. If Sandrock ran well for you on low settings, you might just need to tweak a few graphical options or adjust the resolution in Evershine to achieve similar performance. But rest assured, even on lower settings, Evershine will still look pretty. Very important. I mean, like, I know a lot of games have like low settings, but then like it gets all blurry. Everything looks like terrible, you know, the water is like non-existent, the grass is like just there. And then when you bump it to high, everything looks amazing, but then your computer crashes. So I appreciate games that optimize so well, because you should still be able to enjoy like a stunning game. I feel like, you know, like just it still looks good and it doesn't really impact your thoughts of how the game is on the lowest setting. Because if I go in a game and I have to turn off everything and the game is just like doesn't look good anymore, everybody's blurry and things like that, then yeah, I mean, that sucks a lot. But it doesn't have to. The developers can really, you know, like look at how to prioritize certain things and make it so even on the lowest PC setting that it still can look good. Not the best, but it can still look good. So I appreciate that they are keeping that in mind. Question 11. Can you confirm that non-core romances will still have some missions and marriage perks even if it does not reach the level of a core romance? Super important too, because, you know, the more romance choices that you have, the more people that will be pleased with what you have. And even if they're not a core romance and have all those missions or, you know, like perks that those specific romances bring with them, then, you know, you can still have a good time. Yes, that's correct. While non-core romances may feature fewer missions and dialogue compared to core romances, the essential elements like dating, marriage, and relationship perks will still be available. They'll still offer romance interactions and moments, giving you a variety of relationship options to explore in the game. Okay, that's good. That's good reassurance for sure. I mean, they really sound like they're taking everything that the community is saying and what they like about their previous games and just, you know, reassuring us that this is still continuing. Question 12. In terms of multiplayer, when you say that it will be a player hosted, does that mean we'll be able to boot up our regular single player save file and host a session where we can invite friends online to join our world and play together? So, very interesting question. Let me see the answer before I make my comment. Yes, you can invite friends to join your single player save, and the multiplayer mode is fully integrated with the single player experience. This time, we've built the game with co-op in mind from the ground up, so the gameplay flow remains the same whether you're playing solo or with friends. For more info on multiplayer, you can check out our earlier article, Multiplayer Co-op. So, love it. Again, I love that they're building Evershine with co-op in mind right from the beginning, because that means whenever they're doing the gameplay loop, the systems, everything, then they are also thinking, how does this work in multiplayer? How do we make it so it's seamless in multiplayer? Because whenever you get a game that tacks on multiplayer at the end, you might get a situation where it's like only the player host can really do anything and everyone else is kind of like just a minion who's there but doesn't have the ability to make any lasting changes to the world that they're playing in. And I think that, you know, sometimes that can work, but it's a lot better when everyone can do everything that they want in a game and it still runs pretty well. Like, for instance, I really like how Stardew Valley handles the multiplayer, because everybody can have their own little farm sheds and stuff, and they can get married to whoever they want to get married to and pretty much be anywhere on the map at once. They do not have to stay in the same space as the player host. And I really don't like how Animal Crossing does their multiplayer, because it feels very limiting and also very tedious to kind of get up and running, because you have to open your airport and then your friend has to come and you have to wait like 5 minutes for the scene of them flying in and the multiplayer to load, and then while they're there, like, you know, certain things are limited So with that, I'm not really a big fan of. I really like that they are integrating the multiplayer, like I said, and I can't wait to play with my friends. I mean, I'm definitely gonna go and do both the single player and the multiplayer mode because I want to see how that experience is different or similar. Like, I would be so surprised if I didn't even notice. And I'm just playing with my friends. So we'll see. Question 13. Can we get more save slots? That would mean a lot to me since I save often. Will there be an option to save our game progress at any time, or will we have to wait until our character goes to sleep? So for this one, I'm guessing that because you can save whenever you want in Sandrock, that they're just gonna carry it over to Evershine. Hopefully. Let's see the answer. On PC, you'll have plenty of save slots available. For consoles, we're looking into adding more slots, but please keep in mind that memory limitations may pose a challenge. We'll do our best to accommodate this. As for saving your progress, since Sandrock, we've made it possible to save at any time. However, in certain battle scenes or important story missions, saving might not be available due to the specific gameplay conditions. For most of the game, though, you'll be able to save whenever you want. So, okay, so good, because I was like, they wouldn't add a feature and then roll it back, right? No, they wouldn't be like Pokemon, right? So luckily, they are basically keeping the save anywhere feature. And for PC, you'll still have a lot of save slots to, you know, romance everyone if you want to, things like that, make different choices. Okay, question 14. Will there be photos, images, updates on what has been happening in both Sandrock, Portia, through some sort of newspaper or conversations? Can we learn more about the world? Will there be more lore hidden in My Time at Evershine than there was in its predecessors? So this is pretty nice too, you know, lore building, world building, always important. Yes, we plan to share updates about what's happening in Sandrock and Portia within Evershine. We're building upon and expanding the history and factions of the My Time world in Evershine. You can expect to discover new concepts and forces, especially with the introduction of the North Development Plan, which significantly impacts the Alliance and Frontier regions. There will be much more to explore in My Time at Evershine, and we're looking forward to seeing what you uncover when it's available. So great. They're just saying, yes, of course, we're going to have more lore. We're expanding this world, and you're going to be able to discover all that in the new game. So look forward to that. Question 15. How do you decide who will be the main love interest? Also, how do you develop your core characters? Ooh, good question. Relationship building, always my number one in a game, so I'm interested to see what their thought process is. We start by outlining the story and identifying core characters that drive the plot. From there, we choose characters that are not only charismatic, but also have unique qualities that make them great candidates for love interests. While the creative direction is primarily led by our team, player feedback plays an important role in refining these characters, whether it's through suggestions, discussions, or past experiences. We listen to the community closely, and your input helps us fine-tune details, character traits, and interactions. We focus on building characters with strong inner qualities like bravery and kindness, supported by rich backstories that explain their personalities and motivations. These characters need to connect deeply with players through meaningful interactions, such as dialogue, emotional moments, and collaborative tasks. That's how we develop them. Ooh, very, very cool. I mean, I like that they're doing the story and then they're pulling characters that are part of the story. So it really feels like, okay, this is the main plot. This is what the governor in this case is going to be doing. You know, this is where the story is going to take them, and these are the people along the way that are going to be a part of that story and also interact with the main character and become their love interest. So that's very cool. I like that, and I love that they listen to community feedback because, you know, like, the community knows what it wants in love interests. Okay, they know what they want. So if they can just listen and implement that, then I'm sure a lot of people will be happy. Question 16. Will we be able to finally build a proper kitchen inside the house? Using manure on the blender to make fertilizer was kinda... And the kitchen was outside, exposed to the wind and sand. Oh my goodness, yes, yes. I didn't even think that we were putting manure in a blender until just now. And then the whole image of me making fertilizer in Sandrock just popped in my head. And I'm like, yeah, you know, that is kind of sketch. So, yeah, can we get a kitchen in our house? That would be cool. We'll leave that possibility up to you. We'll provide a variety of prefabs, and whether you can cook inside the house will depend on how you plan your space. If you organize it well, you can place the cooking station indoors and designate that room as your kitchen. The choice is yours. Okay, very interesting answer, because they didn't really just say yes. They said that you can do it depending on how you organize the space. So I'm wondering what that looks like. So we'll see. Question 17. Will the inventory system be similar to Sandrock? I really appreciate that when doing deliveries, I just had to have the item in my home inventory instead of having to dig through everything and get the items from home like in Portia. Yes, please. Please don't go back. Please don't go back. Just let me pull from storage bins and chests and everything. Please. And Evershine will aim to keep the features that players loved in Sandrock, so you'll still be able to deduct items directly from storage when completing tasks. Great. Whew. One of the reasons in Sandrock I keep everything in my inventory without putting anything in storage is because I'm so fearful that I'm gonna have to like run back home and grab it, from just how Portia has taught me and many other games have taught me that if you put things in storage, it's in storage. Nobody else has access to your storage. You have to go and grab it before you can like, you know, like make things or like turn in things. So to have a system like that is really, really quality of life. Great, great, great. So of course, I'm so elated that they kept it. And it even says that they're keeping features that players love in Sandrock. So I'm assuming that other features that people have really like taken to, makes their lives easier, that they're gonna also be implemented into Evershine. Last question. So we now will be playing as a governor instead of a builder, but will we still have machines, assembly stations and such? Or will we be commissioning a builder in the settlement to make things for us? To simplify, are we still a builder alongside our job as a governor? Yeah, like what is our role? Is our role still connected to building, or are we past that now? You'll still have some crafting to do, but it won't be quite the same as Sandrock. As governor, you'll keep your builder abilities, but your role has grown to oversee the whole settlement. You'll also be able to have NPCs work for you once you've recruited them. Okay, yeah, this is what I thought. So basically they are stepping away from you as the builder in that sense, in the micro sense, and they are going macro like I mentioned, and you will be able to delegate NPCs to do your kind of bidding, I guess, and construction to do your bidding, like resource management, construction, things like that. So most of the, I think the gameplay will be different than how it is in Sandrock and Portia, but not like super different, because there will still be like resource management and you'll still need to build things and, you know, with the required materials and things like that. So that will stay the same, just you wouldn't be a builder anymore. Okay, so those are all the questions that they chose to answer. Of course, there are other questions that they want to keep secret. They do not want to answer just yet because they want to keep us on this hype train, right? They want to make sure that we're still excited about my time at Evershine and we're talking about it and getting the word out that the Kickstarter is still going on. Again, you know, I have a lot of faith in Pathia Games to deliver because I really love Portia and Sandrock. They're like in the top of my favorite games, and if they can execute my time at Evershine well, then I think it's gonna be my favorite game, hands down. Anyways, what did you think? Did you have any comments on any of their answers that they had? Did I miss anything? Because again, I have not finished Sandrock. I didn't know Fang was going to join a Monster Hunter guild. You know, eventually I will finish and I will have all that information, but until then, you know, let me know if I missed anything. So anyways, like, subscribe, all that jazz. If you want to see more, if you want more news from my time at Evershine, if you want, you know, more random Let's Play videos, all that, I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.